and have taken their feedback and made some more efficiency or operational improvements to things even as simple as where certain personal items need to be packed inside Crew Dragon for retrieval while on orbit.
And I think we have time for one more social question. Are the Crew-2 astronauts going to do any experiments that are related to Artemis missions? Yes, absolutely. In fact, many of the experiments on station are directly related to Artemis. There's a live shot of the moon that we're looking at, by the way. And cool. That is where we're going with the Artemis mission. We are set on putting the first woman and the first person of color on the moon as part of the Artemis mission. And the experiments that the astronauts do on the space station help us learn about how life in microgravity affects the human body. And of course, that helps us develop the technologies that we need to keep astronauts healthy for those longer deep space missions that are required to go to the moon and eventually onto Mars. And one in particular that Aki has mentioned is working on recycling water in space, and also ways to counteract bone and muscle loss from extended time in space. I mean, those are just a couple of examples, but there are so many more. Also wanted to let folks know that we actually we have completed the launch escape system health checks. We didn't acknowledge them because they happened so far ahead of schedule. We were expecting them at T-minus 1 hour and 30 minutes. They in fact happened more than 30 minutes ago. So just want to let folks know that we did have those already happen and they were successful. This is, of course, the third crew to fly to orbit in a commercial spacecraft. Of course, the first were astronauts Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken nearly a year ago, and the last crew that launched in November is still in orbit right now. They are getting ready to return to Earth on April 28th after they welcome the Crew-2 astronauts aboard the space station. Here's a look at some of the extraordinary and record-setting accomplishments of one team to date.
Hey, is there audio through?
You know, it feels great to be a part of this transition.
Can you hear the audio from the video from Lisa again?
A test program, a demonstration program,
hi.
to an operational program.
After NASA certified Crew Dragon, Crew-1 is the first mission to the International Space Station. I feel very honored to be a part of this great mission.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
Go for launch.
When we're sitting on the launch pad, I think what's going to be going through my mind is I want to be in the moment.
Look at the Tesla
and
Model
enjoy the
X's.
experience.
Wow, ninjas.
There is just an electricity in the air as that countdown is happening. The engines light and liftoff occurs.
3, 2, 1. Ignition. Liftoff.
Liftoff! Hi, everybody. Good morning. Good morning.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Good afternoon.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
Hi, David L.
Stage separation confirmed.
Hey, Growmaster Yoda.
Dragon separation
Rovers,
confirmed.
Tamar. We've got Nikki Hawk on Twitch.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
What time is it where everybody's coming in from?
It's really hard to explain living and working in zero-G. It's fascinating how normal it becomes so quickly. It just feels like you've done it your whole life.
Like their mouth moves late, even on my TV. It's for once not my internet connection. Knock on wood.
We are on the cusp of the third crewed launch for the Commercial Crew program, signifying a regular cadence of human spaceflight launches from right here at Kennedy Space Center. Joining me now is Center Director Bob Cabana. Thank you so much for being here today with us.
Absolutely, my pleasure, Jasmine. What an awesome morning.
Right. We're up before the sun.
Yep.
Yeah, we are so glad to have you
here.
What's your reaction to this return to regular human spaceflight launches?
All I can say is it's about time. It was so great last May when Bob and Doug launched for the first time in 9 years humans to space on a U.S. rocket from U.S. soil here at the Kennedy Space Center. Then to get Crew-1 up there last November, and now this is really cool because Megan's flying in the same capsule that Bob, her husband, went to space in last May. I mean, this is it's awesome to have this regular cadence again.
Yeah, absolutely. We're thrilled to be here. We're thrilled to see, history being made. And in addition to the excitement from today's launch, we are also coming off our celebration of Earth Day. Can you talk to us about how we launch from Earth for Earth? What is Kennedy Space Center doing to benefit our home planet?
Kennedy Space Center has an absolutely excellent environmental program. First off, our 144,000 acres here, it's a national wildlife refuge managed for us by the Fish and Wildlife Service. I've been out and seen the sea turtles. I've helped count eggs, look at eggs, see the nest. It's awesome. It is so cool.
This is the SpaceX
we just signed an agreement with Florida Power and Light. They have put in a 491-acre solar farm. It takes care of like 15,000 homes, the electricity that this solar farm generates. We want to be very ecologically friendly. One of the neat things that we're doing here at Kennedy Space Center, we're responsible for plants, growing plants in space, growing plants when we go to the moon, going to Mars, food for the astronauts. Real processed food loses nutrition over time. And there's a psychological benefit to having plants in space too. So I think it's kind of cool to be able to take, part of planet Earth with us into space as we move on. But no, I'm really proud of our environmental program here at KSC.
Right, absolutely. And you really understand the importance of taking pieces of home up to the space station. You have flown 4 times on shuttle. You understand probably more than most of us how our astronauts are feeling today. So have you spoken to them recently? How are they doing?
The crew is doing outstanding. I talked to them the other night. They are ready to go. Everything's tracking well on the launch. I can't wait to see those guys blast.
Okay, I'm going to mute that for a second and just welcome everybody to the stream. Hello, good morning. I think it's still morning everywhere. I hope my gain is okay. I hope that the audio on the Googles was okay. I just resized the text in the chat. Yay. I don't know why it's so big. Chat is enormous. But I'm so glad that you guys are here. There's 11 people, and it's early in Phoenix. It is Friday, April 23rd, 2021 at 1:32 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Pacific Daylight Time. I don't know how the time changes or whatever, but yay, from Austria. Wow, welcome. The Wiggum. Tamar, thank you very much for checking my audio. Hi, David L. We love you, Jessica. Wow, love you guys too. Michael is here. I'm so glad. Matthew Cable just started his day. Starman is ready. Moreverse, it's 1:30 a.m., so you are on the same time zone as me. And did I miss anybody? We've got Joseph Papp, and we've got UK Growmaster Yoda. Let me go. Sure I didn't miss anybody on Twitch. Royal Jester, you're on the east coast of Australia. We're in Australia, 6:30 p.m. So I can no longer say good morning, but I can say good day. Good day, mate. I know that's really bad Aussie accent, but I did study there for 6 months. So, and then we've also got Nikki Hawk, and did I miss anybody? Carl Fenton, hello, Carl. David L. says it is 4:33 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. David L., 4:29. Yep. Oh, wow. Yeah, so cool. Are you in New South Wales? Okay, I'm going to turn the audio back on. I just have this tendency to talk over what's going on. I'm working on it. New South Wales, what part? Yay, that's so exciting. I love Australia. Maybe another subscriber, Tom in Space, will join us. He's also in New South Wales.
We're just T-minus 1 hour
That's
and
Jesse.
14 minutes
Jesse
from launch, and we're getting pretty excited over here. Since arriving at the spacecraft, the crew were helped by our closeout engineers to get into their seats, attach their suits to special umbilicals that provide breathing air and a communication link to Dragon systems. They conducted suit leak checks, which were successful, and communications checks with the core here in Hawthorne, which is the person who will speak to them directly throughout the mission, as well as the launch director in Florida. This is where they're checking their comm path through both ground stations and data tracking and data relay satellites that we'll use to talk to the crew the entire way to the station.
And after those suit leak checks, the closeout team was able to seal the hatch, which also gets its own leak check. The closeout team has departed the pad, and weather operators will kick off their final check on wind speeds at the pad, which will be used during the final go, no-go for launch. Now, before we get to that final go, no-go, the various teams at both NASA and SpaceX will do an internal go poll, making sure conditions are right with the Falcon 9, the Dragon, the Crew, the range, and the space station before that final go is given. Let's check back in on Houston for a status on the team supporting the space station on their readiness for launch.
Yay,
Courtney.
a new subscriber.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank
the
you
team
so
here
much.
in Mission Control Houston remains go for launch. All systems on board the station that are required to be healthy for this mission are continuing to look good. Before the station team is go for launch, they must verify that key systems on board the station are functioning as expected. This includes life support systems like oxygen generation, carbon dioxide removal, and the water recycling system that allows us to reuse about 90% of the water we send to station. We're also ensuring that the computers that allow us to command the station's major subsystems, essentially the station's nervous system, are functioning normally. We also work with our Russian counterparts to ensure that both methods of controlling the station's attitude are fully functional. This includes the large U.S. gyroscopes and the thrusters found on the Russian segment. Both systems play a critical role during Dragon's docking. Mission Control Houston will be closely monitoring the crew's flight and checking off milestones for most of the journey. Again, Flight Director Paul Kanya is now on console, leading flight controllers here in Houston for launch, and Flight Director Scott Stover will lead teams for docking tomorrow, expected to take place at 4:10 a.m. Central Time.
4:10 a.m.
The International Space Station team is ready for launch, so I'll send it back to Hawthorne. Gary?
Wow, she was so exciting. I'm not joking.
All right, thank you, Courtney. As we mentioned, the Crew-2 astronauts will spend about 6 months on the International Space Station. During this time, the Crew-1 astronauts will depart the station and return to Earth. They're set to undock from the station in the Crew Dragon Resilience on April 28th and splash down off the coast of Florida, where they'll be picked up at sea by one of SpaceX's recovery vessels. Next, SpaceX will launch Commercial Resupply Mission 22, or CRS-22, to the space station to deliver cargo and supplies to Crew-2 and the astronauts and cosmonauts aboard. It will automatically dock to IDA-3 at the Zenith port of the Harmony module.
Before Crew-2 returns home, they will hand the baton to the next crew to arrive at the orbiting lab on Crew Dragon, the Crew-3 crew. That mission is targeted to launch this fall. It will carry Crew Dragon Commander Raja Chari, pilot Tom Marshburn, whom are both of NASA, mission specialist Matthias Maurer of the European Space Agency, as well as a fourth crew member who will be added soon. The Crew-3 astronauts will also complete a 6-month mission as expedition crew members aboard the space station. They will be joined there by 3 additional crewmates who will launch on a Russian Soyuz spacecraft. This will mean that 7 people will be on the space station at one time, allowing NASA to effectively double the amount of science conducted in space.
So much science.
This will be Chari's first trip to space, but he has more than 2,500 hours of flight time as a test pilot. The U.S. Air Force colonel is also a member of NASA's Artemis team and is eligible for assignment to a future mission to the moon. Crew-3 will be Marshburn's 3rd visit to the space station and his 2nd long-duration mission. He flew on STS-127 and Expeditions 34 and 35. Marshburn is also a medical doctor who once served as a flight surgeon and medical operations lead for the space station. Like Chari, Maurer will be making his first trip to space with the Crew-3 mission. He has extensive experience in engineering and research, and he spent 16 consecutive days in an underwater
I'm going to pull the audio down. So we're talking about the next crew mission that will launch next time. So today is, I'm just a fan. I don't have any affiliation. I'm a big SpaceX fan. This is Starman. This is also Starman. I have a thing for SpaceX, Elon Musk's companies, and I am a bystander of NASA. I never followed NASA really until SpaceX started launching for NASA. So look at they use that 0G indicator, that little Earth, I forget what they call him, that Ripley. His name is Ripley. That little Earth stuffy that's right there. So My name is Jessica Kirsh, and I like to live stream these things. And yeah, I'm glad that you're here. Welcome. We are watching this is a Falcon 9, SpaceX Falcon 9 Crew Dragon launch. So on the top, there's a very tiny tip, I guess, on the top. That's the Crew Dragon capsule. It has 4 astronauts aboard, and this capsule has flown before. It flew the Crew-1. Also, this booster flew Crew-1 as well. So this is a fully reused, fully reused with the exception of the second stage portion. So when the stage separates, the booster comes back down to Earth. The grid fins steer it, and then it lands very safely on the drone ship. I'm not sure which drone ship they're going to be landing on today. I hope it's, of course, I Still Love You, because that's my favorite drone ship, but it could be just read the instructions. So rapid reusability is the goal of SpaceX, and, well, there's many goals, making humans and or multiplanetary species, getting us to Mars, and exploring what's out in the stars. But rapid reusability has been the ultimate deal breaker, I should say. It's brought costs down, and it's making it much more efficient to fly people to space. For the first time ever, they're flying commercial flights of people. The first one to come up is it Dear Moon or is it Inspiration 4? I forget, but it's private. It's still a private company, so obviously I'm very passionate about it. I could go on and on, but I'm gonna pull the audio back up. And hi, Jordy, welcome. Looking good, Mikey. Thank you very much. Yes, it is very exciting. Burp, 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 burp. If you have any questions, let us know. This is a good community of people. Yeah, fist bump. Where are you coming in from? Is it Nazir or Nazir? Badri? Love to know where you're coming in from. Burp, burp. Have you seen the size of those super heavy grid fins? They're enormous. David L. Yes, they're so big. I can't wait to see them in person. They're so big. So these are the 4 astronauts. I'm going to turn this back up. This is the 3rd mission for SpaceX to send NASA astronauts to space, to the International Space Station. The first demo, I think it was called Crew Demo, or Demo 2. Demo was with Ripley, the little stuffy animal, and there was, no, was that Ripley? Or they had a dummy, I forget. Anyways, first mission was with 2 astronauts, the second mission was with 4 astronauts, and then this one's with 4, and the next time there'll be another 4. So the International Space Station appears to be very crowded right now. They actually had to move part of it from one side to the other in order for this capsule, which we're staring at right here on the right-hand side of the screen, that's going to dock with the International Space Station. So, yeah, that's just kind of a basic Jessica blab. Oh, yeah, it is. The drone ship is, of course, I Still Love You. Yay! I should be wearing my, of course, I Still Love You drone shirt. But I was going to save it for Starship, SN15. Where is Stella? Oh, there she is. Hi. Yeah, it's so big. Oh, Tampa, Florida, nice. So you might be able to see this if you step out of your house once it's launched. That's pretty cool. That's really cool, actually. Okay, let's pull up the audio. I'm so glad that it's working. Here we go.
Will begin. The Dragon spacecraft you can see right here on the monitor with the crew access arm next to it. Earlier today, the Dragon operators performed a series of checkouts of the Dragon flight systems, and the spacecraft is also currently go for launch. The 4 astronauts are currently inside Dragon, and the hatch is closed.
Hatch is closed.
The SpaceX closeout team has left the pad, and they'll be outside of the blast danger area very shortly.
Thank you.
Now, before we can start loading propellant on the Falcon 9, we've got 2 major items to perform. First, we need to retract that crew access arm away from the Dragon capsule to its launch position. Now, that'll happen between T-minus 44 and T-minus 42 minutes. Now, we move the access arm away to obviously clear the way for launch.
Yeah.
But we also do it in case the Dragon capsule has to leave the launch pad in the event of an emergency before launch. Now, once the arm is out of the way, the launch escape system will be armed. With these 2 events complete, Dragon will be ready for Falcon propellant loading.
What's his name?
Now, the range is currently clear for launch from historic Pad 39A.
Yay!
The worldwide network of ground stations and the tracking and data relay satellites are ready to support Dragon as it heads into orbit. On the weather front, weather continues to look good, both at the surface level, the upper altitudes. We are continuing to wait for a final input from the weather team coming up in about 5 minutes on ground level winds in case we had a Dragon abort somewhere near the launch pad. Right now, those conditions are go, but we're getting one more set of balloon data to make sure that everything is good.
So he's talking about a weather balloon. They launch a weather balloon into the air, which reads wind speeds, direction. I forget all the other ones. If Tyler Hurd were here, he would be able to help. John Instrucker, thank you so much.
No opportunity to change the T0. We are committed. We're going to get one chance at it today.
This is an instantaneous launch window.
T-minus 62 minutes and counting. We are go for launch.
We are good. I love him. He's so good.
It's good to hear that we are still go.
And there's Jesse. Okay, so thank you, Moaz Nazir. Hi. Are you new to the chat? I don't recognize your name. I'm glad you're here. John Innsbrucker. Okay, so now they're going through the astronauts. So
in Atlanta and was selected as an astronaut in 2004. Kimbrough is a retired U.S. Army colonel and holds degrees in aerospace engineering and operations research. He first launched aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour on STS-126, then aboard a Russian Soyuz spacecraft for Expedition 49 and 50. Kimbrough has spent a total of 189 days in space and has performed 6 spacewalks.
Pilot Megan MacArthur will be making her second trip to space, but her first one to the space station. She was born in Honolulu, but considers California her home state. She holds degrees in aerospace engineering and oceanography, and was selected as a NASA astronaut in 2000. MacArthur served as a mission specialist aboard Space Shuttle Atlantis on STS-125, the final servicing mission of the Hubble Space Telescope in 2009. She operated the shuttle's robotic arm over the course of 12 days and 21 hours, capturing the telescope and maneuvering crew members throughout the 5 spacewalks to upgrade Hubble's science instruments, along with removal and replacement of other components to lengthen the telescope's life. Hubble continues to operate to this day, providing scientists the opportunity to make more and more deep space discoveries.
Mission special.
Great question. Local time, Big Mama, in-house is 1:48 a.m. in Phoenix, Arizona.
An agency of
For
Japan, known today as JAXA. Hoshide earned his degrees in aerospace engineering and mechanical engineering. He flew on STS-124 aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery to deliver and install Japan's science laboratory, Kibo. He also flew aboard the Russian Soyuz on Expeditions 32 and 33 for a 124-day visit to the space station.
Things continue to progress nominally. Next up is cycling the orbit tank isolation valves to equalize low flow pressure here in about 15 seconds.
I'm working on my Alexa voice. Thank you, David L. I'm honored. Thank you so much, Moez, for the super chat. Wow!
Got some good call-outs there. In 2014, he also served as commander of the 18th NASA Extreme Environment Mission Operation, which was an underwater expedition at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Aquarius habitat off of Florida's Key Largo coast.
Mission specialist Thomas Pesquet will be making his second trip to space. Born in Rouen, France, Pesquet was selected by ESA as an astronaut in 2009. He has a degree in spacecraft design and control and more than 2,300 flight hours as a commercial airline pilot. Pesquet first flew to space on the Soyuz as a flight engineer for Expeditions 50 and 51. In that time, he worked on more than 50 experiments and performed 2 spacewalks to maintain the space station. He's logged 197 days in space. Pesquet will be the first European to fly in Crew Dragon and it will be the first time a European has launched from America in more than a decade.
Wow, that's a big
Each
deal.
of these 4 crew members will join Expedition 65 once they arrive at the International Space Station with Aki Hoshide.
I'd just like to point out that I see NASA spaceflight stream and only 4,100 people are watching, and on a Starship stream, normally there's like 400,000 or 300,000 people. Plus, it's the middle of the night.
Station from U.S. soil. This will be the third Crew Dragon flight with crew and its second long-duration mission to the
interest
International Space
is still
Station.
not there yet for sending astronauts back up.
When ready, report go for launch.
From U.S. soil. So I hope that, I was saying on a stream a couple days ago that I hope that NASA continues to hire youthful people, or not even just youthful, just energetic people that can bring liveliness and excitement back to the space program.
Same capsule that launched Bob Bacon and Doug Hurley last year. And today, Bob's wife, Megan, is the pilot on this flight, sitting in the same seat that he did. It's been an awesome countdown so far. Weather is still looking good, and the excitement is picking up as we get closer and closer to that T0.
That's right, Jesse. We had a great countdown today, starting with Suit Up.
Okay, so now they're going back through what happened earlier. They started streaming hours and hours ago. Yeah, but I am so glad that you guys are all here, and I wanted to explain why there was a push in this mission from yesterday morning at, what time was it? Was it scheduled for 5:49 a.m.? I can't remember. Eastern Standard Time to today. So weather looked okay in the Cape Canaveral Kennedy Space Center area, but off the coast there is a drone ship, and the drone ship is called Of Course I Still Love You, and the drone ship is obviously autonomous. It's controlled remotely. Ooh, that's a cool shot right there. And wow, that was really cool. And welcome to my stream. I have ADHD. And the weather and the winds in the ocean, where the first stage is called the booster. So the top that you can see right now on the left-hand side of the screen has the Dragon capsule, and underneath that, where it's like the white, black, white, black, that other white part is the second stage. Second stage will propel that Dragon capsule into orbit, but unfortunately that white spot in the middle is the one part of the rocket that's not reusable. It actually burns up in space. And so far they have not been able to bring it back down. That's the one thing that goes away. Everything else returns back to Earth. So the Dragon capsule will be sent up to the International Space Station with these astronauts. They will dock at the ISS. There are 4 astronauts that were launched in November, and they will enter the Dragon capsule, and those astronauts will return back home. I don't know what the turnaround time is, but it should be soon. So this is a pretty big deal. This is, they're handing off the baton, a relay race. I used to run track when I was younger, and I was always the 4th leg, and I'd be the one. Somebody would hand the baton off to me, and then I would have to, then I would go. So I kind of think of it like that. But as you can see at the bottom, that's the booster. So where the landing legs are, those will actually deploy as the booster is coming back down. They will deploy, and that booster portion will land back on the drone ship, and they will be able to reuse the booster again. And then upon the astronauts that are currently at the International Space Station that are coming home, back home, in the Dragon capsule, they will re-enter the atmosphere in the capsule, and they will do a splashdown in the ocean. So they literally deploy parachutes, and it slowly splashes down into the Atlantic Ocean, and SpaceX has boats around it that recover it immediately, and that has the astronauts in it. So they're able to grab the capsule out of the water and then bring it up onto land, obviously, and refurbish it, or make it so it can be flown again. So just one more time, the capsule that they are sitting in right now has been flown to space and returned safely twice, and three times, because one of the maybe four, because a couple of I don't know for sure. I can't tell you wrong information, but the booster has also been reused. So reusability is key. Elon wants to get Starships going. He said he wants to have a booster used 1,000 times per day, or some 1,000 boosters going per day, as he said in the X Prize Carbon Capture Award yesterday when they announced the contest. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this audio back up. Thanks for listening to me blab about my passion for SpaceX.
3 minutes before launch for the first stage and 2 minutes before launch for the second.
Good morning, Hector.
All right, and we are hearing that the Dragon teams did conduct that go poll electronically here in Mission Control Houston. The first checked and the first milestone to go for prop load is underway. There's going to be another poll coming up at T-minus 45 minutes with the launch.
I know you're a moderator over on Everyday Astronauts channel, so thank you so much for stopping over. That's awesome. Hi, Erin. Good morning. Good morning. We've got Hector coming in from Phoenix. We've got Erin coming in from the Canary Islands.
Of course, of course. So it's a big day. The commercial crew program is in full force. Last summer, we launched Demo 2 and then Crew-1 in the fall, and we're gearing up to launch 4 more astronauts from American soil. How does that feel?
It feels amazing. If you would have told me a year ago that we would get 3 crew flights launched in less than a year, I would have just been ecstatic, and I am ecstatic today for the third flight with SpaceX. It's a lot of firsts with this flight, including the first crew rotation. Having that 4 crew on station in the U.S. segment continue.
Yeah. So, hi, Nicola Gries from Switzerland. Hi, welcome. Are you new? Welcome to the stream. How much do I think the price for a flight to Mars will be in the future? I think I've heard, did I hear $200,000 or $100,000? I believe, and that's just when they first start going. Oh yeah, you like the upgraded launch pad? I haven't even seen it. They upgraded it, okay. Maybe the future of the first stage will circle around and wait for the second stage to dock and then return to Earth. Interesting if this is possible. Yeah, I feel like there's got to be a way, right? David L. is still at work. Oh my word. 30 minutes. Wow, David L. There's an echo because I'm far away. Is there still an echo? Okay. It is what it is. It's fine.
In full development, last piece that we need for our first Artemis missions. And later this year, hopefully, we'll conduct the first Artemis 1 mission, which will be an uncrewed test flight around the moon.
Right. So that is exciting. As we are looking at going to the moon, we're also looking at even further to Mars. We made history just this week with the first flight of Ingenuity. There's also the MOXIE experiment that is converting the Martian atmosphere into oxygen. So what does that mean for our hopeful one day putting people on Mars?
Yeah, so the science missions, the robotic missions are really important because they fill knowledge gaps for us that we need to fill to plan out eventually human missions to Mars. So, for example, there's a weather station on Perseverance. And for the first time, we're getting 5-day weather forecasts from Mars, right? So also that weather station characterizes the dust,
Mar, I love you.
the size and
It's always
properties
bad
of the
news.
dust, and that's really important for mitigating that dust in suits and systems. So it fills knowledge gaps. But MOXIE is really important, right? We generated oxygen from atmospheric CO2, and using the resources of Mars is critical because it will be very challenging to take all the oxygen and all the fuel and water that we need with us for an astronaut mission to Mars. So getting oxygen from the atmosphere and exploiting the frozen water in the regolith or Martian soil is really important because we can break that water down into oxygen and hydrogen for fuel. We can use it for potable water as well as for breathable air. So this, what we call in situ resource utilization or living off the land, is a real enabler for
there's
our
no
human
echo
missions to
anymore, is
Mars.
there?
Right. And of course,
Right?
we've got our sights set on the moon and Mars, but we're taking
yay,
care
I
of
only
Earth
spent,
at
like,
the same
45
time.
minutes of
NASA
wasted
recently joined the White
horrible
House Climate Task
audio. It's
Force.
not wasted.
Can you tell us how NASA's going to
Yeah,
expand
good morning
its
from
exploration
Oscar.
and
Hi, Red
understanding of
Ghoster
our
Channel.
home planet
Hello.
right here?
Gone now. Yes.
Yeah, so we have
Thank you for
over
letting me
about
know.
24
Tamar,
spacecraft in
thank you,
Earth orbit
thank
right
you.
now, looking down,
Yay,
making
Hector, thank
observations
you.
of the oceans,
It was Hector. It
the
was
atmosphere,
my
the
internal
land,
system preferences
vegetation,
settings were not set
what we call
to
the
Yeti
cryosphere, or
microphone.
measuring the height of ice sheets, both in the Arctic and Antarctic. So we use the unique
I need to have a
view from
checklist.
space
Okay, anyways.
to make global measurements over years and decades.
Leave it out.
And we use that data to conduct research and also to improve
I ever wanna go to
models of
space.
the Earth
Yes,
systems and
I would love to go to
modeling.
Mars.
Because if we can't
would.
predict climate using our research, we can't mitigate climate. And so that's really important that the research we do informs policy making and informs
Hi, Shawshank.
the most
Welcome.
effective policies
Welcome,
to mitigate climate change, which is really, really important, not only for the U.S. but for the
weather
world.
forecast from Mars. is
Station,
cool.
on the ISS, we
Crazy.
also have instruments mounted externally on ISS. It's in a unique orbit, an inclined
one
orbit
day
that's
just
different
gonna
from most of our Earth
get on
orbit
a
spacecraft
stream
that
and the
look down
audio's
for
just
a
gonna be
polar orbit.
fire.
And for certain types of instruments,
whole
that
time.
orbit is very advantageous. It gives
But
us
then
a
I'll
lot
miss
of
something
coverage
else.
and a
No,
unique
I'm just kidding.
perspective.
Wait, tomorrow, don't say anything.
And so
I'm being positive.
we're using ISS more and more as an Earth observation platform. So, both with the research we do with NASA,
I'm so glad
with
you
our
all
other government agencies,
joined
partners
here.
through the
There are a lot of
US
different
Global Change
people who
Research
are
Program,
broadcasting right
and
now.
also in collaboration with our international partners, we're going to
this
continue
down.
to make those observations, do that research, and improve our ability to.
No offense, NASA man. There are a lot of people broadcasting. I haven't actually looked for sure, but I can assume Everyday Astronaut, I think, is going live. If he's not live already, I think he should be live already. Everyday Astronaut, NASA Space Flight, Marcus House, Felix from What About It, SpaceX. NASA probably has a stream on their end, but it looks like SpaceX and NASA have a combined stream, so which is nice. That because SpaceX is bringing, I won't even go into it. Who else? Who else am I missing here? There's a couple more people. I just can't think of them right now. And shout out to my friends who are in Clubhouse right now. If you are still on this stream watching, I love you. Thank you for being here for me. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And Godspeed. That's right. Base is on the moon and then Mars. That's right. Powell. Go NASA. Go SpaceX. Yeah. I love it. It's going to be very cool the day astronauts will use Neuralink to control the flight. Oh my gosh, I've never thought about that before. That'll be really cool, Okay, we're at 45 minutes to T-minus 45, so I think that they're going to do a final weather check. Let's see.
Around the pad, as well as air and sea space around the flight corridor. And on the weather front, the weather officer gave a fantastic at the T-minus 1 hour briefing.
Yes.
The winds for all conditions of flight, liftoff, contingencies, getting into space, everything looks good both at ground level and upper altitude. So right now we're just waiting to listen to the SpaceX launch director.
There's Sean.
Give the poll,
right?
And then also give the instructions to the team and move into retracting the crew access arms. So we're going to listen for a minute to the countdown now.
Let's listen. Listening. They were playing rock, paper, scissors. Rock,
Poll
paper,
is complete.
scissors.
Emperor and team is ready for propellant load and crew access arm retract.
Yay!
For non-urgent no-go conditions, brief the CE or LD and they'll approve aborting the launch auto sequence and proceed into launch abort. For urgent issues affecting the safety of the countdown, operator shall call hold on the countdown net. Launch control will abort the launch auto sequence immediately and proceed into the launch abort auto sequence. Operators advise launch director whether structural breakup or fire is imminent or occurring per Dragon manual escape flight rules. In the event of a fire alarm, key operators will man their post while the alarm is evaluated. In the event that personal safety is threatened, evacuate to the south-facing emergency exit, which leads directly outside. Launch control, you may proceed with arming the crew arm for movement.
Yeah! The arm is going to retract now. Whoop whoop. This is an instantaneous launch window, so if it's something happens at 5:49 a.m., they cannot launch. They'll have to scrub.
Access arm retraction started.
Here it goes. Wait. Oh, sorry, everybody. I have my audio stuff on screen. Ugh, sorry. I always forget. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I say, girl, what's my weakness, man? Chillin', chillin', minding my business. I saw a look around, but I couldn't believe it. There it goes. Bye-bye, launch arm. Jordy, $5 Australian dollars. Thank you so much for the super chat. That's awesome. Yeah, it's so
there
cool.
You see
right?
a live view of the crew access arm retracting away from Crew Dragon in preparation for launch. The countdown clock continues to tick, and we're now at T-minus 42 minutes and 33 seconds.
Woo!
We're standing by for the completion of the crew access retraction. This is one of the last major visual milestones that we'll see in preparation for liftoff. Shortly thereafter, we should hear the call out that the launch escape system is armed, and from there, we'll hear that Falcon 9 prop load has started, which is one of my favorite milestones of the launch countdown.
We just saw a beautiful shot from inside the white room as the crew arm was moving away. There it is. The capsule, you can just barely see it in the corner now of that opening where that is where the side hatch was. Where the astronauts ingress Dragon, and now you can see it continuing to swing away from the Falcon 9 rocket and Crew Dragon Endeavour in preparation for launch. That is a really cool angle.
It's pretty cool. I feel like they need to wipe off their lens, or am I being snobby?
And Tracy, as we're watching the crew arm still retracting here, we are about to have the International Space Station fly over us, right?
We are, yes, here at KSC, Kennedy Space Center. It looks like in another minute to the southeast, traveling across east-northeast, the station should be visible overhead.
Crew access arm retraction complete.
Now we just heard confirmation that the crew access arm is done retracting.
The lenses.
Up next, we'll expect to hear a call to arm the launch escape system.
I dropped the mic, I just noticed.
Dragon SpaceX, you are go for Section 7, close visors and arm launch escape system.
Wow! I actually don't know what that means, to be honest. Arm launch escape system. Okay. Anybody know?
SpaceX Endeavour visors are down.
Thank you so much, Jordy.
Copy, visors down.
Tom in space, welcome. Yeah.
Okay, so the crew there reporting that they have closed and locked their visors in place in preparation for the launch escape system arming.
We have another Aussie in the house.
The launch escape system is a critical safety feature. This is something that the shuttle did not have. We take very seriously the fact that the astronauts' lives are in our hands, and we take every measure possible to ensure that the crew has options and has an escape in the worst of scenarios. So this is simply a path to safety for the crew in the event that they need to depart the pad in an emergency, and also applies to aborting the mission even after liftoff and through Ascent.
And the Crew Dragon Endeavour actually has an enhanced abort capability now. That was one of the improvements made to this capsule after Demo 2, and it increased the propulsion system on Dragon.
Launch escape system is verified armed.
Let's go SpaceX.
Okay, so that was confirmation that the launch escape system is armed. And so that is what we have to hear before fueling on the Falcon 9 rocket can begin. So we are about just under 4 minutes away from that milestone. But again, we were saying the propulsion system. Oh, there's a shot of the space station. There it is.
Look at that.
Everybody wave.
Hi. They're waving down at us. I think they're watching right now. So
they are. You know they are.
yeah, hi guys.
Hi.
We see you. So that's super cool.
Go SpaceX.
But yeah, the abort system, it's been improved by about 10%. That's the Super Draco thrusters. There's 8 of them built directly into the Crew Dragon, and so that actually allowed for a wider margin in terms of wind speeds. So there's greater opportunities for launch, but weather not looking like much of a concern at all today. In fact, last we heard there's less than 5% chance of violation, so more than 95% go conditions, which is great.
Yeah. Pretty rare for launches from here.
Still have 37 minutes.
And that launch escape system, how that works is, once the fueling begins at T-minus 35 minutes, if there's any kind of emergency, Crew Dragon can launch itself off the top of the Falcon 9 rocket, and then it would splash down under parachutes off the coast in the Atlantic, and we have rescue teams pre-positioned in the event of an emergency if that happens, which is highly unlikely, but it's something the NASA and SpaceX and Department of Defense teams practice for extensively. That launch escape system is also equipped to perform an abort after liftoff. We would call that an in-flight launch escape, and that can happen at any point throughout the ascent trajectory.
Yeah, we actually tested this launch escape system in multiple ways. We performed a pad abort test where a Dragon capsule was on the pad and simulated an abort where it took off like a rocket like you've never seen and deployed parachutes and splashdown in the Atlantic Ocean. We also conducted an in-flight abort test, which was incredible to witness. I mean, it was a test unlike any other that we'd performed before, and where we launched a Falcon 9 rocket with a Dragon on top, and about 100 seconds into flight, simulated an anomaly. Dragon took off and deployed parachutes, splashed down, and so this is a system that we have tested, but never expect to utilize. Once again, the booster that you're looking at now, if you're wondering why it looks a little dirty, that is actually soot that was left from re-entry after its last mission. This particular booster supported the Crew-1 mission very recently, and we have, there we can see a photo of our Crew-2 astronauts. Actually, they're holding up their fingers because they have soot. They signed their initials, their names into the soot there in the background. So I've said before, I love the human spaceflight traditions that we have, and I think this is a new one. Tracy, you said it earlier.
Yeah. We never got to draw on the shuttle before we launched, so this is kind of cool.
Yeah, Thomas, they were answering questions about it, and he started to say we carved our initials, and he quickly stopped himself. No, we didn't carve anything into the Falcon 9. We traced our initials in the side of the rocket, and so you could see closely in that photo. If you look, you could see the initials of each astronaut. So that's really cool and something that we look forward to seeing on future reused boosters. This one is set to land.
Load has started.
Okay, we just heard confirmation that fueling has begun on the Falcon 9 rocket. And this first stage booster is set to land on a SpaceX drone ship at sea after liftoff.
I hope I'm not snobby for asking SpaceX or NASA to remotely wipe their lenses
We are
off.
now at T-minus 34 minutes, 30 seconds and counting from Crew Dragon's third launch with astronauts and the first for 2021. Today begins the next 6-month rotation mission to the International Space Station. The launch escape system is armed, which happened just before fueling began at T-minus 35 minutes. The Dragon capsule was loaded with propellants about a week and a half ago, just a few miles down the road at what we call Dragon Land. And in order to fly, Dragon needs a fuel and an oxidizer. And Kate, I'll let you talk more about the fuel.
Yeah, so for that fuel, we use monomethylhydrazine, or MMH, and nitrogen tetroxide, or NTO, for the oxidizer. Together, these two propellants feed the Draco engines that maneuver Dragon on orbit, as well as the 8 Super Draco engines that would power the launch escape system in an abort scenario.
And again, now that the fueling is underway on Falcon 9, that means the 8 Super Draco engines built directly into Crew Dragon are ready, if needed, to launch the capsule off of the Falcon 9 rocket in an instant should there be any kind of emergency associated with the rocket or the launch pad. The NASA and SpaceX teams have trained extensively for exactly that type of contingency, along with the Department of Defense Detachment 3, who does a fantastic job in those training scenarios. Now over to SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne for an operations update. John?
Well, we are counting down those final minutes, and everything's still looking good for Falcon 9 and Dragon for an on-time launch just under 33 minutes from now. Falcon 9 did begin propellant loading just a couple of minutes ago. We heard it. Now, the first and second stages of Falcon 9 are each loaded with 2 liquid propellants. One is fuel. That's loaded into the tank at the bottom of each stage. The other is an oxidizer, and that goes, obviously, into the tank at the top of each stage. Now, the fuel that we use to power the Merlin engines is a refined kerosene called RP1. And the oxidizer loaded on each stage is densified liquid oxygen called LOX. Densified means that it is kept much colder than typical for launch vehicles, and it takes up less volumes. So this allows us to get more oxidizer loaded onto the first and second stages. Now, to ignite the fuel and oxidizer in the Merlin rocket engine, we use an ignition fluid called T-tub. When T-tub comes in contact with oxygen, it burns, and it gives off a green-colored flame. Now, once we've got the flame going, we add the kerosene fuel into the Merlin chamber, and the engine ramps up to full power. You might see the green flash just as the second stage engine ignites following stage separation. Now, currently, we've just begun. The first stage fuel tank is about right now a little under 10% full. The first stage is the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle you see on your screen. The white cylinder topped off by the black cylinder, that makes up the first stage. And then the top 1/3 underneath the Dragon capsule, that's our second stage. Now, at this time, the second stage fuel tank is about 8% full. Now, the fuel tank, if you were to zoom in, that's where the NASA meatball logo is positioned. And right above it, you can just make out the red NASA worm logo, and that's where the liquid oxygen tank is on the second stage. And there's a closer view. Now, in addition to loading the fuel, we're also loading oxygen, the liquid oxygen, onto the first stage. We won't start liquid oxygen loading on the second stage until T-minus 16 minutes and 30 seconds. And liquid oxygen will continue loading on both stages until the last few minutes of the countdown. Helium loading into pressure vessels is also underway. We use that to pressurize the tanks in flight as the propellant is pulled out by the Merlin turbopumps. On board the Dragon spacecraft, you can see here in a close-up, the astronauts are monitoring systems while the propellant is loaded into the Falcon 9. The crew training in the simulator included playback of sounds that we've recorded in the Dragon capsule during recent flights. So they get an idea what all that hissing and popping and banging is from the vent valves and the pressurization systems. Now the range continues to report no problems. They are go to support launch. And the weather also looks good. I mentioned the T-minus 1 hour briefing. We called it fantastic. Currently, we don't have anything that we are tracking that could be a concern. We have a very small possibility of a pop-up rain shower, but nothing showing up. So right now, 29 minutes, 40 seconds ago, it looks like we've got good weather. Now, as a reminder, today we have an instantaneous launch window. So at this point, if we hear a hold for any reason, we'll have to stand down and target our backup launch opportunity coming in 3 days. So right now, let's turn it back over to Jesse and Gary for an overview of events that are going to happen after the liftoff of Falcon 9.
Insprucker.
Great news, John. For Crew-2, the astronauts' flight to station will take about 23 hours, and their journey will be fairly similar to the trip Crew-1 made in November of last year.
Yes.
All right, as we wait T0 in just about 29 minutes, the ground operations teams are doing a series of systems checks to make sure both Dragon and Falcon 9 are ready for launch. You're looking at a live view of our teams at the Cape as they prepare for liftoff. As we wait for the launch clock to hit 0, we wanted to give you an overview of what the Ascent portion of the mission will look like.
Once we hit T0 and a successful launch occurs, we will watch Falcon 9 and Dragon lift off from historic launch pad 39A and make their ascent.
At about 50 seconds into the flight, Falcon 9 engines will throttle up to help pass through the period of maximum dynamic pressure on the rocket, or what we typically refer to as max Q. It's worth noting that once we hit max Q, the vehicle will be going supersonic.
Supersonic.
Once we are through the period of maximum dynamic pressure, we can throttle up our 9 Merlin engines again. And from there, at about 2.5 minutes into flight, we have a series of 3 events that will happen in rapid succession.
First is MECO, or main engine cutoff. This is where all 9 Merlin 1D engines shut off in preparation for stage separation, which is our second event. This is where the first stage detaches from the second stage, with the first stage making its way back to Earth for landing as the second stage continues on its journey with the third event. SES-1, or second stage engine start number 1, is where the MVAC engine lights up and propels the second stage along with our Crew-2 astronauts to orbit.
As Stage 2 heads towards its targeted drop-off orbit, Stage 1 will execute 2 burns in order to make its way back to Earth. The first is the entry burn, where 3 of the 9 M1D engines will reignite and then shut down. And this helps to slow the stage down in preparation for entry back into the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere.
While the first stage is heading back to Earth, the second stage will cut off its 1 Merlin engine that was ignited right after stage separation. Once this happens, we'll wait for confirmation of a good orbital insertion.
We want it to be nominal.
About 90 seconds after Dragon gets into orbit, Falcon 9 will land back on Earth. The landing burn is just a single engine burn, powerful enough to bring the vehicle's speed down rapidly in order to land on the drone ship about 9.5 minutes into the mission.
While Falcon 9 first stage is landing, Dragon is preparing to separate from the second stage. At about 3 minutes after the second stage gets into orbit, we should have a great view of Dragon with its 4-person crew drifting away from the second stage. Once Dragon is a short distance away, it will begin checking out its Draco maneuvering thrusters to make sure Dragon continues to increase separation distance from the second stage. It's worth noting that these are not the Super Draco engines that would be used during an abort scenario.
About 40 seconds after separation, Dragon's nose cone deploy sequence will begin. It will take roughly 4 minutes for the nose cone hooks to unlatch and open, exposing its guidance navigation controls, or what we call GNC, that will help Dragon autonomously fly to the space station.
And lastly, once the nose cone is deployed, the remaining Draco thrusters on the forward bulkhead will be checked. From there, over the next 23+ hours, Dragon will be in its rendezvous and approach phases, undergoing a number of phasing burns as it makes its way to station. All of that will be coming up soon. For now, let's check back in with Courtney in Mission Control Houston. Courtney.
Hi, Courtney.
Thanks, Gary.
Welcome.
The space station team here in Houston is focused, and the critical systems on the station continue to function
Start of
normally.
Stage 2
The teams have
cryo-helium
verified the command path
Cryo-helium.
from the ground through our constellation of communication satellites to the station. Everything is nominal, and the station will be ready to receive Dragon tomorrow. Once the crew arrives at the station, they'll join Expedition 65. While on board, their official designation will be flight engineers, except for JAXA's Aki Hoshide, who will take command of the space station from NASA's Shannon Walker just before Crew 1 comes home. He'll be the station commander until the fall, when he'll hand the reins to European Space Agency Thomas Pesquet for the final part of their mission. Flight Director Paul Kanya is on console now, leading flight controllers in Houston for launch, and Flight Director Scott Stover will lead teams for docking tomorrow. Just a reminder that a launch today will take about 23.5 hours to get to station, with a docking to the Node 2 forward port scheduled tomorrow at 4:10 a.m. Central. Once Dragon is docked to the station, the team here in Houston will assist Dragon and space station astronauts with leak checks, as they will work to open hatches on both Dragon and the inside of the station's pressurized mating adapter. We expect hatch open to take place approximately 2 hours after docking. That's it for us here in Mission Control Houston. I'll send it back over to the team in Florida. Marie?
All right, thanks, Courtney. You're looking live at the Falcon 9 rocket and SpaceX Crew Dragon, and we can see liquid oxygen venting off the rocket. That is normal and expected. It is now T-minus 23 minutes, 50 seconds and counting from the third astronaut launch from
Yeah, Carl, that's so cool. You said your 9-year-old son is learning about space and NASA at the moment in school. And that's so funny that you say that, because I was on a FaceTime last night with my friend who has an 11-year-old, and they were doing vocabulary words, and I was just hanging out, and they were they were all space vocabulary. So I thought that was really interesting. And as she would read the definition or whatever, and he would answer, I would like think in my head. There were a couple that I couldn't get, but it was very exciting, very relevant. Hopefully they'll be teaching students about SpaceX, if they're not already. I know that some teachers have told me that they will stop and show their students the launches, which I think is awesome. I think every teacher should do that, in my opinion. To print a rocket this weekend in 3D printers for his show and tell. How fun is that? I love it. Hi, Luke. Nathan DeLazzo. Are you new to the stream? I don't recognize your name. Welcome.
To the space station at the same time.
Liquid
Crew 1's
oxygen.
Resilience and Crew 2's Endeavor, that's on the launch pad right now.
With the arrival of the Crew 2 team, I believe that'll bring the head count on station to 11 people. And as much as I love camping, that does sound like it would be a little crowded up there.
Yeah, you know, you counted 11 people on board the station, 9 of them in the U.S. segment. We've got 4 crew quarters, which are basically crew bedrooms. We've got both commanders of the Dragon sleeping in their vehicles. That leaves 3 people needing a place to sleep. That's Suichi, Shannon, and Victor. They'll be in the gym, the Columbus, and the airlock, respectively. So you could say it's quite a full house. They'll be camping out, rolling out their sleeping bags on rack fronts. So it'll be tight.
What a great benefit to being commander. You have your own private suite
with windows. And yeah, it's a nice place to be.
Yeah, and that's honestly the window shots that we have been receiving from the crew have been one of my favorite things from the Crew 1 team up there, and even Bob and Doug whenever they were up there as well. Just the view outside of the Crew Dragon window. It's actually my phone background right now. And it's just incredible, and I love that we get to, that they share their perspective with us from above.
Let's give you a quick recap of who the astronauts are sitting inside the capsule here in the foreground. Sitting closest to the front of your screen is Commander Shane Kimbrough. He is commanding the Crew Dragon Endeavor today, and he is a native of Texas, making his 3rd trip to space. The retired U.S. Army colonel first launched aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavor on STS-126, then aboard a Russian Soyuz spacecraft for expeditions 49 and 50. Kimbrough has spent a total of 189 days in space and performed 6 spacewalks.
Pilot Megan MacArthur will be making her 2nd trip to space, but her 1st to the space station. She was born in Honolulu. She was born in Honolulu, but considers California her home state. MacArthur served as a mission specialist aboard Space Shuttle Atlantis on STS-125, the final servicing mission of the Hubble Space Telescope. She operated the shuttle's robotic arm over the course of 12 days and 21 hours, capturing the telescope and maneuvering the crew members throughout 5 spacewalks to lengthen the telescope's life.
And mission specialist Aki Hoshide is embarking on his 3rd space flight today. The JAXA astronaut from Tokyo previously flew on STS-124 aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery to deliver and install Japan's science laboratory Kibo. He also flew aboard the Russian Soyuz on expeditions 32 and 33 for a 124-day visit to the space station.
Let's get hyped, everybody.
And in the far corner of your screen is mission specialist Thomas Pesquet. He will be making his second trip to space. Born in Rouen, France, Pesquet first flew to space on the Russian Soyuz as a flight engineer for expeditions 50 and 51. In that time, he worked on more than 50 different experiments and performed 2 spacewalks with Kimbrough to maintain the space station. He has logged 197 days in space.
Wow.
Pesquet will be the first European to fly in Crew Dragon, and it will be the first time a European astronaut has launched from America in more than a decade.
Each of these 4 crew members will join Expedition 65 once they arrive at the International Space Station, with Aki Hoshide taking over as commander of the station right before Crew 1 departs.
And as we're looking at a live view of the pad, again, fueling is underway. We heard a call out during those bio recaps that the RP-1 load is complete on the second stage. And we have a really special treat if we could take a view of Bob Behnken's spacesuit. We have that in studio. That is the actual spacesuit worn by Bob Behnken during the Demo 2 test flight. And you can see the photo of his wife, Megan MacArthur, in the photo there. And she is sitting in the same spacecraft, in the same seat that Bob did almost a year ago on the Demo 2 mission. Megan is the pilot for this mission. There's a shot of Bob's spacesuit on the left and Doug Hurley's spacesuit on the right. This was a couple days ago during the pre-launch news conference. So again, looking live at the pad, Falcon 9 will have 1.7 million pounds of thrust at liftoff, and we've heard it sounds like a gorilla sitting on your chest. Would you say that's accurate, Tracy?
Yeah. I've never had actually a gorilla on my chest, but I imagine that one would be that heavy. That the feeling that you have in your chest is pretty significant.
A gorilla.
Once again, the white cloud that we see there is expected, totally normal. That's just the liquid oxygen vaporizing essentially as it comes into contact with this humid Florida air. As a point of reference, the liquid oxygen that we load on board Falcon 9 is super chilled to help densify that liquid oxygen. When I say super chilled, I mean really, really cold. We're talking like negative 336 degrees. So, of course, whenever it comes into ambient air, it will turn into its gaseous state, which
LOX load has started.
LOX load has started,
okay, and there we just heard the call out that second stage LOX load has just begun.
And so the mission teams that we've seen in control rooms from Kennedy Space Center to Houston to Hawthorne are all laser focused on keeping this crew safe from this point and all the way to the space station and back home in 6 months. We had a chance to ask about their mindset right now from a couple of their leaders.
There's a very delicate dance between the weather, normally the weather and the operations, and making sure all these complex systems are working correctly together. And what it's really important is just how calmly, quietly, efficiently the team's working through every single one of those things. It's why we train.
People are very passionate about this program, as am I, and they know the consequences of what they're doing. They know that the crew's lives depend on what they're doing. This human spaceflight endeavor requires diligence every day on the job, and I think our team knows that.
I definitely feel like those crew members are in our hands, and we need to be there thinking straight, making sure we're making the right decisions so that we're getting that crew safely to the International Space Station.
All right, let's get hyped, everybody. It's a little slow right here.
And that
T-minus
was
15.
Kathy Leaders and Steve Stitch, who have been in charge of the NASA team for much of the life of the commercial crew program. And
let's pull down the audio there.
On the SpaceX side, who have
that's nice. Isn't that nice? No? Yes. And let's turn up. Let's turn on some beats, shall we? I'll pull it back up. Don't worry. Here, I'll keep it up.
Possible for the crew. Again, it is now T-minus 14 minutes, 15 seconds and counting. We'll be flying 258 miles over the Indian Ocean south of Sri Lanka. And now with T-minus 13 minutes, 50 seconds and counting, we want to focus on the pad as we proceed through the final stretch of the countdown. We will turn it over to Hawthorne to take us through launch at 5:49 this morning. John?
5:49 a.m.
We're inside T-minus 14 minutes. Everything is still looking good for launch of Falcon 9 and Dragon, 49 minutes and 2 seconds after the hour. Falcon 9 began propellant load at T-minus 35 minutes. Loading of the RP-1 fuel onto stage 2 is complete. Fuel loading is continuing on the first stage. We're over half full, and it'll finish at T-minus 6 minutes.
All right.
The densified liquid oxygen loading is continuing on the first stage, and we began loading liquid oxygen onto the second stage a few minutes ago. The liquid oxygen loading will wrap up T-minus 3 minutes on the first stage, about T-minus 2 minutes on the second stage. Checkouts of the thrust vector controllers, what we call TVC wiggles, are coming up, along with throttle valve checkouts on the engines. That's where we move the engines a little bit, make sure the hydraulics are ready to go. Currently, the range is go, ready to support, working no issues, and we continue to have good weather, both at the launch pad at ground level, at the upper altitude winds, and downrange at the contingency landing sites.
Yay!
On the Dragon spacecraft, the Dragon mission director and team, they're reporting no issues. Their communication checkouts are complete. The crew access arm is retracted, as you see on your monitors, away from the vehicle. The launch escape system is armed. The crew is strapped in and ready to go. Final instructions to the crew will be coming at T-minus 10 minutes. They'll configure their displays for launch. That'll give them insight into how the launch is proceeding, and it provides constant updates on vehicle health. And for Dragon at T-minus 5 minutes, we'll hear it enter terminal count as they transition to internal power. Now we're going to hear continued callouts on the countdown net as we get close to T-minus 0 and to the liftoff. Now, Gary, we talked about the Ascent sequence of events that are coming up here. You and Jesse went through that a little while ago, but we're also going to have abort modes. Can you explain a little bit about what the abort mode callouts are that we might hear?
That's right, John. We're continuing to track that the Falcon 9 and Dragon are looking good for launch, but just in case anything were to happen, Dragon is fully prepared to initiate an abort and use those Super Draco engines to escape from a speeding Falcon 9. On the way uphill, you'll hear a series of letter and number combinations. Those will denote the stage that the rocket is on and the abort zone that we're on as well. On the first stage, you'll hear abort zones A and B. That will cover the Falcon 9's ascent up to about the northern border of North Carolina, about 7.5 to 8 miles in altitude. And the stage 2 will have stage 2A through E. Mostly it will be stage A, or stage 2A abort zone, but towards the end of the 6 minutes that stage 2 will be firing, you'll hear the numbers start going out from B to E, with E being an abort to orbit. All of these capabilities enabled on the Dragon spacecraft to make sure that the crew will be delivered safely into orbit. Inside 10 minutes and 30 seconds, we should be hearing some final status, maybe a good luck and Godspeed from some of the ground teams here, ensuring that the crew is ready to go, that Falcon 9, Dragon, and all the support teams are ready for launch.
Go for launch. Starman's ready. Stella's ready. I'm ready. Are you all ready? Somebody asked when hop earlier. I think that there will be
Dragon, SpaceX, confirmed crew displays are configured for launch.
Sweet. Next week, when hop.
Displays are configured for launch.
SpaceX copies. Shane, Megan, Aki, Tama. We're thrilled to have crew on board Endeavour once again, and truly honored to have you all at the helm. It's been a pleasure training alongside you ahead of this historic launch. We wish you a great mission, good luck, and enjoy the ride.
Thank you, Chad, Christian, Frank, and all the teams who got our crew and vehicle ready for this mission. I want to say a special thank you to our families and friends. We're incredibly grateful for your support and sacrifice during our training and our upcoming flight. Our crew is flying astronauts from NASA, ESA, and JAXA, which hasn't happened in over 20 years. We're excited to represent our nations, agencies, and all of humanity. Off the Earth, for the Earth, Endeavour is ready to go.
Wow! I feel good. Da-na-na-na-na-na. I knew that I would. I don't know what
All right, some celebratory handshakes from inside the Crew Dragon. That was the voice of the Corps, Chad Healy, here in Mission Control Hawthorne. Next series of events, John, will be the engine chill. Everything's looking good so far.
Yeah, it is. We're actually watching the fuel trim valves on the Merlin 1D engines going through some checkouts right now.
Look at that.
And as you said, at T-minus 7 minutes, we're going to start a sequence of events that begins with opening the pre-valves. Currently, the liquid oxygen, the kerosene fuel on the Falcon 9 first, second stages is separated from the Merlin engines. T-minus 7 minutes, just over a minute from now, we open the pre-valves. That allows propellant down to the top of the engine or the inlet to the turbo pumps. At the same time, we open up bleed valves on the turbo pumps, and that allows a little bit of that densified ultra-cold liquid oxygen to flow through the pump and to chill down the liquid oxygen pump. That way, when we get to T-minus 2 seconds and we spin the pumps up and everything comes to full power, we're not pulling very cold liquid oxygen through a warm pump. So as that cools it down right now, that'll get it ready for that ignition sequence in the last couple of seconds. So we should hear that call out that the stage 1 engine chill has started. You'll also hear in flight, about a minute and a half, 2 minutes into flight, MVAC chill has begun. That's also a repeat sequence there, where we open the bleed valve and begin chilling that engine one more time before it lights after stage separation.
Can we just talk about how slim those astronaut
Right now we're waiting to see the pre-valves come open and the chill begin.
Remember how big and bulky the old ones were?
Stage 1 engine chill has started.
Wow! Yes!
Yep, and there's the call out. We've got indication pre-valves coming open on the engines.
Yay!
And we have begun to chill in the Merlin engines for flight.
Yes!
That's right, John. Now inside 6 minutes, 40 seconds.
I like that guy's voice.
RP1 rocket-grade kerosene is completely filled in the second stage. We're anticipating about 30 more seconds for the first stage to be completely filled with that RP1 refined kerosene.
Good info, Tamar. Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Liquid oxygen will continue to flow through the first and second stages up to the final minutes before
Stage
T0.
1 RP load is complete.
Stage 1 RP load is complete.
All right, confirmation. We have 100% fill of RP1 on both the first and second stages. 6 minutes to go until an instantaneous launch window today.
Really? JavaScript and HTML.
The next milestone will be Dragon to transition to configure for terminal count. And this time, terminal count, the Dragon will be on internal power, no longer relying on the lines from the ground.
Stella, are you excited?
And from there, the Falcon 9 propellant tanks will pressurize for strong back retract. That'll be another visual milestone. The clamps just below the Dragon's unpressurized trunk will open, and the strong back will tilt back just 2 degrees.
What? No.
Then right after liftoff, back to 45 degrees. Again, RP1 kerosene, both on the first and second stages.
They're like, let's do this.
Liquid oxygen continues to flow through on the first and second stages. That very densified, very cold liquid oxygen.
Headphone warning for anybody that has their
Dragon
headphones.
has transitioned
I
to
do
configure
yell.
for terminal count.
So.
Falcon 9 propellant tanks
No,
are
no,
pressurizing
no.
for
Bring
strong
us
back
the camera.
retract.
Oh no, they lost. No.
All right, John, good calls and right on time. Dragon is now
Whatever,
on
that's
internal power.
It is what it is. It's on internal
Okay,
power.
next major event coming up is going to be opening the clamp arms around the second stage in preparation for retracting the strong back away from the vehicle to get ready for liftoff.
Strong back is retracting.
We heard the call out. Strong back is beginning to retract. We're into the automated sequence. We should see the clamp arms that are just visible there around the top of the second stage begin to open up. Once they are open, then the strong back will begin to move away from the Falcon 9.
This is exciting. It's exciting that the space program has reignited, I guess. Yes, Dragon to space, says Max. Go, 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 Aaron.
Watching the sequence, a nice view from up on top of the fixed service structure. The arms are opening.
Oh my gosh, here we go. 344.
And we're beginning to recline away from the Falcon 9. We'll move the strong back 2 degrees away from the Falcon 9. That'll get it ready for liftoff. And at T0, when the flight computer commands liftoff, the hydraulics on the strong back will pull it to a position 45 degrees away from the Falcon 9, giving it the clearance for launch. So right now, the strong back is moving away.
Here we go, here we go, here we go.
Everything proceeding nominally.
Oop, normally.
It's great to hear, John. We're also anxiously awaiting the liquid oxygen complete on the first stage.
For the super chat.
Should hear that call very shortly.
It is happening! Hashtag Team Space, here we go, here we go! 2 minutes and 54 seconds. Yeah! And we have good
Dragon
audio, I
has
think.
transitioned to terminal count and is on internal power.
I hope.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
Yeah! Woohoo! Dragon capsule.
Okay, we've heard the call out. Stage 1 LOX load is complete. We're loading liquid oxygen on the second stage for about another 30 seconds or so. Once we get the liquid oxygen load complete on the second stage, the propellant line that runs up the side of the strong back that carries liquid oxygen, we'll vent that line down to make sure there's no liquid in it when we get to liftoff. When we do that, we open up valves on the strong back, and as Kate and Marie were talking earlier, when we vent off that very cold gaseous oxygen, it'll merge with the warm, humid Florida air, and you'll get a large white plume of condensation off of the back of the strong back. That'll be normal, coming about a minute and a half before launch. Everything continuing to look good.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
Here we go. Stage 2 LOX loaded. Here we go. Here we go.
Dragon is in auto idle.
All right, with that, the Falcon 9 is fully fueled. We have fuel on both the first and second stages, and both stages are filled with liquid oxygen.
Hi, elephants.
Gas closeout has started. Expect loud venting.
Okay.
Dragon is also in auto idle. The flight computer is on Dragon.
Here we go.
Maintaining their calculations, standing by, waiting for the T0 mark.
Aaron, you're ahead of
1 minute, 15 seconds until launch. The 1 minute mark, Dragon will transition to countdown, and the flight termination system will arm. The computers on Falcon 9 will be talking to the computers on Dragon and can issue an abort if necessary.
Here we go, T-1.
FTS is armed. Falcon 9 is in startup and is now controlling.
Here we go.
Dragon is in countdown.
Yes!
All right, 50 seconds to go. Everything is ready for an on-time launch today.
I'm sorry.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
Go for launch! Yes! I'm so excited.
Go for launch.
Yes.
Ground teams are ready, and the crew inside Dragon is ready. 30 seconds to go until launch.
There's now 233,000 people watching on SpaceX live stream. Yes, more people are waking up, seeing this live. Here we go, here we go. Ah, here we go. Come on. I know what's gonna happen.
Seconds.
How many? How many? Where's the timer?
10,
9,
8,
7, 6,
5,
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff!
And liftoff. Godspeed, Endeavour.
Copy, 1 Alpha.
Endeavour
Look at
launches
that.
once again. 4 astronauts from 3 countries on Crew-2, now making their way to the Orbital International Space Station. Vehicle is pitching down range. 9 Merlin engines on the first stage, providing 1.7 million pounds of thrust. Hearing good calls for first stage performance so far.
Oh my god, look at that! That's so cool! Oh my gosh.
30 seconds into the second rotational crew mission on board Dragon and Falcon 9.
Woo!
Falcon 9 will be throttling down the 9 Merlin engines shortly here in preparation for
I like the sound that they have.
in preparation for maximum dynamic pressure.
Max Q coming up hot.
And there's that call out for the throttle down.
Throttle down.
Maximum dynamic pressure, max Q, is the largest structural load that the vehicle sees throughout Ascent.
Woo!
So throttling down does help us pass.
Yes. Supersonic. Vehicle
Going
supersonic.
down
Here we go.
past
Here we
this
go.
Period, which should be coming
Ah,
up
look at those 9 Merlin engines. Holy moly, Batman. That's so sexy.
There's that call out that we have just passed through max Q.
Wow.
Stage 1, throttle up.
Throttle up.
And we can
Bravo.
1 Bravo.
Copy, 1 Bravo.
All right, 1 Bravo is the second abort mode on the first stage. The first stage continues to fire for 2 minutes, 35 seconds.
It must
1.5 minutes into
back
today's
into
flight.
the seat, right? Obviously. Oh my gosh. Keep going. Look at that. Look, can you imagine seeing
Falcon
that?
9 now traveling at more than 1,500
Person
miles
who's
an hour.
Nazir, if you should go look outside right now. You will likely see this in the sky. Maybe.
HVAC engine chill started.
If you're in Florida. Here we go. Here we go.
All right, the engine chill for
Miko.
the second stage single Merlin engine has started.
Main engine
About
cut
30
off.
more seconds of the first stage firing to bring our 4 astronauts into orbit.
Yay! It's so quiet on the stream.
Now from here coming up in about 20-some seconds, we're going to have 3 major milestones. We'll have shutdown of the 9 Merlin engines.
Main engine
We're
cut
beginning to throttle them down.
Miko.
We will then get stage
Stage 1,
separation.
throttle down.
And then we will get ignition of the second stage engine to propel Dragon and the Falcon 9 second stage into orbit.
Yeah, here we go. Come on. They're already showing stage separation. Okay, main engine cut off right here. Miko.
2
Miko.
Alpha.
Go for Miko. Go for
Copy,
Miko.
2 Alpha.
Confirmed.
Woo!
Acquisition signal lost.
Yeah! Stage separation. Woo-woo!
Ignition.
Here we go. Second engine startup right there. Look at that. Ah, it's so cool. That's
We have
so
ignition
beautiful.
of the second stage.
Look at the
You see
booster.
the green
Here
flash
we
of
go.
that
On the
T-temp
left-hand side,
fluid.
you'll see the grid fins
The
deploying out.
expansion nozzle on the second stage
Those
Merlin
grid
vacuum glowing
fins.
that bright red that we like to see.
Steer it
Good performance on the second stage so far.
back to Earth. You can see the lights.
And on the left side of your
of Florida
screen, we saw the
beneath it.
exhaust of the second stage engine. Streaming past the first stage as the grid fins are coming out. We also
Those are
briefly
made
had a
of
view
titanium.
of the lights of Central Florida in
Wow.
the background.
So the grid
Currently,
fins
the first
steer it
stage is
back.
continuing to coast up to apogee.
You'll
It's
see them
unpowered.
move, go
It'll
like
reach
this.
a peak height and then begin to descend back down toward the Earth's atmosphere, where it will light
of course,
3
I
engines
still-
to slow down in preparation for what will be a landing burn on the drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow!
You can see the grid fins are deployed right now. The first stage
Dragon,
pulsing.
SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
We're pulsing the thrusters.
Signal Bermuda.
Copy, nominal trajectory.
And we hear a call out from the crew, nominal
Look
trajectory.
how the engine is burning.
So we're
That's
beginning to move
interesting.
the first stage into position
It's
so
like
it
a
can do the
partial
entry burn.
Is that normal? I've not seen that before. Maybe it's just a camera angle. Here we go. Look at the steering. You can see the water. Here it comes down on the drone ship already. Oh my gosh.
4 minutes, 15 seconds into today's flight.
Oh no, no.
Second stage propelling
That's
our 4
just space
astronauts up
debris.
the
Okay,
eastern
never mind.
seaboard. We'll continue to
Just
fire.
kidding, Jessica
It's a
Kirsh.
6-minute burn to deliver the astronauts into orbit. We'll wait for a cue for good orbital insertion after that. Meanwhile, we'll be hearing
Is that normal for the engine
check-ins
to
on
burn
the
like
vehicle's
that?
trajectory and performance, as well as check-ins with some of the
Yeah,
ground
is it
stations
the
as it passes
nozzle?
over
Is that normal?
throughout the 6 minutes of the second stage firing.
Okay.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Normal. It's normal, everybody.
Copy, nominal trajectory.
Normally they'll announce like what they've flown over. I thought I heard Bermuda.
Getting good views of both the first and second stage from the onboard cameras.
That wouldn't make sense.
Acquisition signal lost.
The New Hampshire tracking station has acquired the second stage telemetry signal. Meanwhile, the first stage,
It's normal. cool, Max.
has reached apogee, and it's now beginning to descend from height. It's currently about 167 kilometers up, and in a few minutes we will get the entry burn of the second stage, of the first stage.
Yes. So the first stage is the stage that releases and comes back to Earth. I always get them confused. Second stage is what's going to orbit, or has been being inserted into
Dragon,
orbit.
SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Copy, nominal trajectory.
Like, that's funny.
Right on cue, those check-ins on the second stage performance. Once a minute, everything's looking good on that second stage.
Propulsion is nominal.
Second stage gives it a final push to orbit. Yeah, here we go. I don't know what's going on the left. Oh, it's...
Stage 2 continues to climb. The vehicle now exceeding 8,000 miles an hour.
Wow.
At an altitude of about 124 miles.
Wow. Yeah, they must be super sad.
In just about 1 minute from now, we will begin the entry burn of the first stage. That'll consist of lighting the center engine, and then shortly afterwards, 2 more engines for a 3-engine burn to slow down the first stage in preparation for entering the Earth's atmosphere.
I mean, I see some curvature right there. Yeah, it's so cool. Look at the Earth.
Dragon,
it's so
SpaceX,
beautiful.
trajectory nominal.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Copy,
Those
nominal
Griffins.
trajectory.
I really want a 3D
Another
printed
check-in, the
Griffin.
crew confirming they're hearing the same thing. The vehicle about to exceed about 10,000 miles per hour.
Wow, that's fast. Here we go, coming back
Meanwhile,
down.
first stage down at 90 kilometers, getting ready to relight 3 engines
Propulsive
for the entry
landing.
burn.
Oh, they're still not in the atmosphere. Sorry, I'm saying the wrong things.
Stage 2 FTS is
Yes,
safe.
first stage is landing. Woo! Here we go, re-entry burn. Yes!
We've got the center engine ignition, and there come the 2 side engines.
It
Now,
lands.
this entry burn will last about 29 seconds. It's going
29
to significantly slow down the vehicle in preparation for hitting the denser part of the Earth's atmosphere.
Yes. Yes, it lands on a autonomous drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. This one's called Of Course I Still Love You. They also have another one called
Entry
Just
burn
Read the
complete. We're
Instructions.
down below 35 kilometers, continuing to look good on
Look
the
at the
first stage,
Earth.
heading to
Oh
the
my
Atlantic
gosh.
Ocean for a landing on the drone ship.
Look at that view. I'm going to screenshot.
While second stage is less than a minute away from cutoff.
Look at that. Here it comes. Look, you can see the clouds. You can see the upper level clouds right there on the left-hand side.
Stage 2 in terminal guidance.
I like these sunrise launches. Except for waking up early. Or I never went to sleep, but you know what I mean. Semperif, is this your very first SpaceX launch?
Copy, Shannon.
Shannon called out at the back end of the stage 2, a few seconds until cutoff.
Yay. Look at that. Please don't go out. Don't go out. Don't go out. Camera. No. It'll come back. It'll come back. This happens.
MVAC shutdown.
Almost every time. Come on. Come on. Starlink. We need some Starlink. Come
Dragon,
on.
SpaceX, launch
Landing
escape
burn.
system
Landing bird's
disarmed.
happening. We're missing it. We're missing it.
Launch escape system disarmed. Copy.
They're going to show
Dragon,
it just
SpaceX,
sitting on the drone
nominal
ship.
orbit insertion.
Come on. Bring it back.
Copy,
Yeah,
nominal
there
orbital
it goes.
insertion.
There it goes. There it goes.
All right, the
Ah,
Falcon 9 second
that's my
stage
favorite part.
has done its job, delivering our 4 crew into orbit.
I can't even see it. But that's
Hear the
okay.
applause here in Hawthorne.
Of
We're waiting to
course
get a
I
video
still
signal
love
back
you.
from the drone ship. Of course, I still love you. And the view from the onboard camera, we saw it just briefly. It looks like first stage on the drone ship. Getting views of the
There we
Dragon
go,
trunk.
in the SpaceX circle.
So the first stage is on the drone ship, successfully landed. And
Look
more
at the
importantly,
Earth.
second
Look at the
stage is in a
Earth.
nominal orbit with the
at the
Dragon
Earth on the
spacecraft
right-hand side.
getting
That's
ready
so
for some
cool.
important events coming up, Gary.
That's right. About 2 more minutes, the Dragon and the second stage of the Falcon 9 will be in a coast phase. It'll take that long until the spacecraft separates from the Falcon 9.
Look at that view.
Of course, both now in a nominal orbit.
The sun is shining on it, Max. Yeah, you were right. Wow.
It's great to see some of the views of the Earth as it passes by over the North Atlantic Ocean.
Here we go. Is there going to be a separation here? Wow, look at that. That's amazing. Look at the Earth. It matches my shirt. Starman's up there somewhere. Starman, he's flying through space. Oh, look at that.
We're
there
getting
they
shots
are.
of the crew in orbit.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Looking for that 0G indicator. Can't seem to see it in this shot, but we have a minute to go until we have spacecraft separation.
I love that they have iPads
Dragon
strapped to their
traveling at
knees.
nearly 17,000 miles per hour at an altitude of 124 miles.
Cool. How do they
Again, the
use the
four-person crew
restroom?
of
Is that a weird
Endeavour
question?
is in orbit right now.
There they go. They're taking off their helmets yet? No, not yet.
Less than 30 seconds until we have spacecraft separation.
I like his voice. Who is that? He should continue to do these. He's good. I would be so restless. Oh my gosh.
10 seconds to spacecraft separation.
Please return your tray to that
We
right
should
lock
hear words
position.
from the core here in Mission Control Hawthorne once we have successful separation.
Good ones, Elephant Stoned. I think I see your stream in one of their iPads. Oh my god, that would be amazing. Good one. Here we go. Woohoo! Bye, Dragon Capsule. Bye.
Dragon separation confirmed.
And there they go. And there's some space debris.
Dragon, SpaceX.
Yeah.
A great rest of your trip. Say hi to the crew of Dragon who's waiting for us and let them know your rocket is home safe. Thanks for flying our first flight-proven, crewed Falcon 9. Sierra side, Crew-2.
Thanks for flying our flight-proven crewed
Thank you
Falcon
very
9.
much. We're great. It's glad to be back in space for all of us, and we'll send our regards to Crew 1 when we get there. Thanks.
So they have a 23, or now it's like 22 and a half hour flight to get to. Oh, they're doing hearts. How cute is that?
Absolutely stunning views from both inside the
that's
cabin,
amazing. Look at
seeing the
that.
excitement of our four-person crew inside Endeavour, and watching Endeavour drift away from the camera on the second stage as the Earth passes by on an orbital sunrise.
There we go.
SpaceX Endeavour week.
Waiting on gravity, 0G.
And Endeavour, you cut out a little bit there. If the question was if you're go to open visors, you are go to open visors at this time.
Yay!
Copy and work. Thanks.
Yeah, good
All
one.
right, 13 and a
Elephant
half
Stoned.
minutes past
Look at that.
liftoff. The crew is in orbit, traveling at nearly 17,000
I
miles
like
an
that
hour.
view from behind them. That's cool. Visors open. So the female on this
Well, Gary,
flight
I don't
is
know
the
about
pilot,
you,
as
but
far as I know.
that was a great countdown. Everything sounded great. Right on
And
time.
Dragon,
Actually, a
SpaceX,
little
we
ahead
see
of
a
time.
nominal dehumidifier activation and service section Draco checkouts.
Got a good orbit out of Falcon 9, and first
Copy,
stage
great
landed
news,
on the
thanks.
drone ship. And we're in the sunlight over the Atlantic Ocean with the Dragon spacecraft. All in all, a
Look at
great
the
day.
Earth. That is just
I
magnificent.
think everybody's jealous of the crew in orbit right now, John.
For sure
These
am. Are
views,
you
even just
guys?
from the cameras, are absolutely stunning. It was
Same
great to see
vehicle
our crew
from
members
Crew
get
1.
into orbit. They already performed
think it's been
successful
upgraded
checkouts of
since
the
number
12 service
1.
section Dracos around Dragon. The next milestone will be the deployment of the nose cone. That'll be about a 5-minute process, but that'll expose the forward bulkhead Dracos and prepare them for checkout. There's a phase burn. There's 5 major burns that are needed to get the Crew Dragon up to rendezvous at the International Space Station over the next 23 hours. And so that first phase burn is coming up real soon in about 35 minutes, actually less than 35 minutes.
Hey, Sebastian. You weren't able to drive down, but you could see it. Yay! Yes, send a pic. Oh, I'd love to see it. Let me know when you've sent it over. That's so cool.
Jesse, I don't know if you could see the 0G indicator, but I was told it's a penguin. I'm trying to look for it.
I'm looking for it too.
Shout out to Cyber.
Keep an eye out on that left-hand screen.
Cyber osmosis. Penguin? Is that the 0G
Meanwhile, the
indicator?
Dragon is configured for a nose cone deployment. We'll stand by for when that sequence starts.
Yeah, they're having fun. First thing I
The
would
nose
do
cone
when I get
itself opens just beyond 90 degrees, about 105 degrees, to expose the forward bulkhead Dracos. Those forward bulkhead Dracos, 4 of them at the very top of the Dragon, will do the bulk of the work when it comes to firing the Draco engines for minutes at a time to increase the Dragon's speed, altitude, and phasing to catch up with the International Space Station again over the next 23 hours.
This is the only portion.
Meanwhile, we're still getting camera views from the second stage, looking at that expansion nozzle. Did its work beautifully to deliver the 4 crew into orbit. Dragon over the North Atlantic Ocean.
And Gary, this is John. I think I heard a call out on one of the Dragon nets that the first set of nose cone hooks is open. So it sounds like that sequence is going well.
Oh. I have a question.
Very good.
Tom in space. Why do they open
Well,
the
from
nose
here in
cone?
Hawthorne, it was very exciting to see the Falcon 9 lift off and deliver our 4-person crew into orbit. We're going to be with you throughout the entire phase, the rendezvous phase, until Dragon and this 4-person crew docks with the International Space Station. That'll be over the next 23 hours. We'll bring you through some of those major burns that are happening. But I am so jealous of Marie and the group over there over at the Kennedy Space Center. You actually got to see the launch and probably feel it as well. Marie, what was that like?
Oh, it was just spectacular, and you know the sun hasn't come up yet here in Florida, but you know we were able to just turn around and see the launch right behind us,
cool.
and it lit up the sky, just absolutely breathtaking.
It was so astounding to see the colors. I mean, it was not just your usual fireball, but there was the pulsating towards the end. And Kate, you're much more eloquent describing that sequence, which I appreciate you doing that while we were
happy to help.
Staring. It was so fun, and knowing that those guys were enjoying the ride along with the sights that we got to see made all the difference. There's nothing more relieving than crew in orbit.
And of course, we were so lucky to have clear weather here, being able to see the re-entry burn as well. I was hoping we were going to be able to catch landing burn, but unfortunately clouds on the horizon did block that view. But it was also such a treat to be able to see the re-entry of that that first stage as well.
Let's go over to Jasmine to get some reaction. I think she's with the NASA
sharing.
administrator now. Jasmine?
Thanks. Thank you, Marie. Yes, I'm joined again here with Steve Jerzik. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So we just had the privilege of watching that spectacular launch in person. What was that like?
Watching a launch, particularly a human space launch, will never get old for me. It's just thrilling to see those 9 engines light up and it lift off the pad, get to the main engine cutoff and separation, and get that second stage started. And of course, pre-dawn launches are always amazing, and you know, we could see the vehicle pretty much through the entire trajectory up to Earth orbit. It was just spectacular.
Right. No, absolutely. It was just stunning, and the sun is just now starting to peek over the clouds here. So do you have any final words of encouragement for our NASA team, our SpaceX team, and our international partners?
Yeah, you know, partnerships are key to what we do, particularly in human spaceflight. Our partnership with SpaceX has been tremendous. 3rd launch in less than a year, after almost a 10-year gap in human spaceflight, launching astronauts from American soil on American rockets. So our partnership with SpaceX and our commercial partners, other commercial partners, is critical, and our international partners. We could not do this without them. Very international mission with 2 U.S. astronauts, and one from ESA and one from JAXA, and obviously the ISS is the largest engineering international collaboration in the history of humankind, and it continues to amaze me how well we work together in doing all the research and technology on ISS. And I'm just so grateful for the NASA SpaceX team for their hard work and getting this third launch off, the Crew-2 launch, and looking forward to docking and hatch opening and the welcoming ceremony, and also looking forward to Crew-1 return next Thursday on the 28th.
Come back next Thursday.
Right. A lot of action still going on at the station right now. So as you mentioned, the next big milestone for Crew-2 will be docking at the station. So where are you going to be for that action?
I'm actually going to stay here at Kennedy Space Center and follow the free flight up to docking, and then I'm going to participate in the welcoming ceremony with my counterparts from ESA, the Director General of ESA, and the President of JAXA, and welcome the Crew-2 astronauts to the ISS.
Fantastic. Kennedy is the place to be right now then, I guess. Do you have any final remarks that you want to share with us today?
Hey, you know, I'm just so proud of the team. I'm so proud of what this team has been able to accomplish over the past year, particularly. It's been especially challenging, global pandemic and other challenges, and just the focus of the team to get these 3 crew launches off, as well as launch Perseverance, land Perseverance, first powered flight, controlled powered flight of a vehicle on another planet, first time generating oxygen from the atmosphere of Mars, and really looking forward to the core stage for SLS getting here and us moving forward to the first uncrewed test flight, Artemis 1 of SLS and Orion. So accomplished an incredible amount in this last year, and much more to accomplish in the year to come.
Absolutely. We've got a bright future right here at NASA. Thank you so much, NASA Administrator Steve Jerzyk, for joining us today. Now we're going to take it back to the KSC host desk.
Thanks, Jasmine.
Not looking
Shane,
good yet.
Megan, Thomas, and Aki are on course to arrive at the International Space Station around 5:10 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. And we're going to stay on the air for continuous live coverage along their entire ride to station. Though our coverage here at Kennedy Space Center is concluding, we're going to turn it over to the teams in Hawthorne and Houston to take us through the next phases of the Crew-2 mission, all the way through hatch opening and a welcome ceremony for the crew.
And for those of you watching online on YouTube, take a look at the description below the video. There you'll find the new link for the Crew-2 rendezvous and coast phase. Live coverage will continue at that new location shortly.
Oh, wow.
And if you're watching on NASA TV, you won't miss a thing, and coverage will continue.
That's right, and as you follow along, we invite you to tune into a post-launch news conference at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time right here on NASA TV, where NASA and SpaceX will take questions live. In addition to NASA TV, you can always follow along on Twitter at @NASA, @SpaceX, and nasa.gov for mission updates. Huge thanks to all of our guests for joining us today, and thank all of you for getting up early on the East Coast and watching. Now here are highlights from the journey to orbit off the Earth for the Earth.
That's the weather in Brownsville right now.
We can see the astronauts are now working with SpaceX suit technicians and the closeout team. And that's our commander, Shane Kimbrough.
There's Megan MacArthur getting helped into her gloves in her spacesuit. And mission specialist Thomas Pesquet will be making his second trip to space. But that's Aki Hoshide having a laugh with some of the suit technicians. There's Shane Kimbrough, pilot Megan MacArthur in the front, Megan blowing kisses. Thomas and Aki ready for their ride to the space station. And here they come, the Crew-2 astronauts taking their first steps outside before their journey to space.
Wow.
I love this moment. They're now going to have the opportunity to wave goodbye from a safe distance. And it looks like Bob Behnken is there and with the son of he and Megan MacArthur. Aww.
ONC departure on schedule.
All right, so we just heard that announcement that the crew has departed the operations and checkout building on schedule. And we can see the astronauts inside the crew access arm.
Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Wow.
Commander Shane Kimbrough, here he is climbing inside Crew Dragon Endeavour. We call this process ingress. We now see suit technicians will help the crew members get buckled in. As you can see, the side hatch has just been closed.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Mission and liftoff. Godspeed, Endeavour and Crew-2.
Copy 1 Alpha.
Endeavour launches once again. 4 astronauts from 3 countries on Crew-2, now making their way to the one and only International Space Station. The vehicle is pitching downrange, 9 Merlin engines on the first stage providing 1.7 million pounds of thrust. Hearing good calls on first stage performance so far.
All right, on to Starship. Here we go. Get on the Elon jet.
30 seconds into the second rotational crew mission on board Dragon and Falcon 9.
Wouldn't it be great if Starship did a static fire today and launched? The weather's not looking great, but I don't think they will. Cool. Well, that was fun. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. That wraps NASA Crew-2. If you are interested in watching the continued coverage for the next 22 hours, I think there is a link in the SpaceX. I thought they said there was a link below. Oh, it's probably on NASA TV. Yeah, recycling for the win. That's right. Yeah, wear your NASA shirt today. Cool. Yeah, I can't wait to go to space either, Caleb. I love all these fun facts coming in from Tom in Space and also from Hector and Tamar and everybody that's providing interesting updates. It's fun to learn. I like knowledge. I'm a sponge. Sponge it up. That was really fun. Yeah, Elephant Stone. Hopefully there will be a static fire today. I don't know if I'm going to stream it, but it happened so fast and I just want a good static fire, but I haven't slept, so I'm gonna probably go to sleep at some point. So I hope you all get some rest or have a great day. And I may or may not, get some gift. Thank you all so much. Thank you for super chats and everything. And yeah, thanks so much for hanging. And I will see you all on the next stream. Will be Starship. 100% guaranteed. Then I will see you on the Starship SN15 flight launch. Come back. Pull up my stream alongside SpaceX and your other people of choice. I always encourage people to pull up multiple streams just to see the different perspectives. There's some really good people that stream these events, so I encourage everybody to pull up a bunch of different people. Thank you so much and love you all. See you on the next stream. Jessica Kirsh here. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. Smash that like button. And so long. Bye, everybody.